I'm Mark Donovan. Fly along with me and check out our wonderful planet from above.
In this video, I fly from Concord, New Hampshire, over to Hampton Airfield, where I actually don't land due to some weather-related issues and a technical issue that I'll get into in a few moments. And then from there, I fly back to Laconia, New Hampshire. The reason for this trip and why it's starting out in Concord is I've had a problem with my Garmin G5 attitude indicator pretty much since I had it. And it's not been a huge issue, and I've worked through it every time, but it's something that I contacted Garmin about, contacted Craig Avionics, who installed the avionics, to see what's the best resolution. And the problem that I've been having is that the Garmin G5 doesn't always power up every time I start up the aircraft. And it seems to happen after I've had an incident where the engines quit. A couple of times on very cold mornings when I've been out taxiing and had a tailwind and I bring the RPMs down to about 600 to 700 RPM, the engine dies out because it hasn't been running very long, the engine's not warm. And when that happens, the Garmin G5 shuts down kind of abruptly, along with the other avionics. And so when I cycle the power, bring the engine back up, everything lights up, everything fires up in terms of the avionics except the G5. Sometimes 5 to 10 seconds later to maybe 2 or 3 minutes later it comes back and comes back on automatically. Sometimes it never comes back for the entire flight. Not until like a day or two later when I come back does the problem resolve itself. So I had tried all the techniques I had seen online, hold 10 seconds before hitting the master switch, so on and so forth. And I can't really say one way or other that those solutions were foolproof or worked all the time. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. So again, I contacted Garmin and I contacted Craig Avionics, and they suggested a software update. That it seems to be that's the main problem. So I flew down to Concord and had them do a very quick software update. Took them less than 2 minutes to do, and I was on my way. And I decided, based on the weather, it wasn't too bad. From my flight down to from Laconia to Concord, that I'd fly over to Hampton Airfield, which is near the beach, Hampton Beach, the Atlantic Ocean, possibly land there, and then fly back to Laconia. Unfortunately, I had a couple issues. One, weather-related issues. There had been some strong headwinds going down to Concord. It was 34 knot winds at 3,000 feet, so I was cruising basically about 60 miles an hour, or 60 knots ground speed down from Laconia to Concord. But I've decided wasn't turbulent at all. Let's just keep on going. We'll go over to Hampton and land. As I got toward the sea coast, though, turbulence kicked in and had quite a few bounces in terms of just while flying at altitude, and really was rocking the plane. And had another issue happen, which I'll show later in this video, once I got near the Hampton Airfield. And because of that issue, I decided I'm going to fly on back to Laconia, ground the plane until I get this next problem resolved. So stay tuned, watch the video, and when we get to the salient point where we had the issue, I'll stop and explain what happened at that point.
Concord traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo. We'll be departing 17 and exiting the pattern to the east, Concord. And we just departed Concord. Now we're on our way over to Hampton, where we may do a landing there. We'll see what the conditions look like. departure, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo.
Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo, Boston.
Yeah, I just departed Concord Municipal Airport en route to Hampton Airfield. Request flight following, currently at 2,900 feet, going to 3,500.
November 6 Whiskey Romeo, squawk 5135.
5135, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo.
Super Cub 6 Whiskey Romeo, your radar contact, Boston, altimeter 29907.
29907, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo. Very hazy day today, but it's a nice, comfortably, reasonably warm day here in New Hampshire. Probably about 45, 50 degrees. Quite warm, actually.
November 6 Whiskey Romeo, contact approach on 125.05.
125.05. 816 Whiskey. Boston approach, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo.
November 816 Whiskey Romeo, Boston approach.
Roger. Very hazy out here. Most of the lakes around here are not frozen yet. Some ice in some spots, but not a lot.
November 6 Whiskey Romeo, descend maintain 2,500.
Descend and maintain 2,500. 816 Whiskey Romeo.
November 6 Whiskey Romeo, there is traffic at 2 o'clock and 5.5 miles northeast on a Skyhawk at 3,500. He'll be inbound to Peasball. Keep him above you till you get over to the traffic pattern at Hampton. There also appears to be 3 in the pattern at Hampton. Squawk 1200, change your advisory approved.
Roger that. We'll keep an eye out for that traffic. Squawk VFR approved. 816 Whiskey Romeo. Traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo, 2.5 miles northeast of the airport, northwest of the airport, inbound for 20. Hampton traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo, going to be crossing over midfield at pattern altitude. Hampton.
Hampton traffic, Orange Piper departing on 20, looking to the overhead.
It is gusty out here. I don't think I'm going to go for the landing today in this advanced traffic. Hampton traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo, entering left downwind for 20, but we'll be exiting the pattern instead to the northwest. Hampton.
Super Cub, did you have the Orange Piper in sight?
I saw you departing, yes.
Okay, I'm turning crosswind to go downwind, looking for you. Hampton traffic, Orange Piper.
Boston approach, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo.
Super Cub 60 Romeo, radar contact 1 mile north of the Hampton Airport at 1,300, Boston, altimeter 29906.
29906.
Cub 8162 Romeo, are you a full stop at Laconia?
Roger that. Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo is a full stop in Laconia.
November 60 Romeo, thank you.
Well, I see I lost my tack here. And the winds have been howling out toward the seacoast, so we're heading back to Laconia. Engine's running fine, it's in the green, oil pressure, oil temp fine. Just looks like the tack is just not reflecting the RPM. So basically I'm running off of airspeed. Basically the sound of the engine, I pretty much know where I'm at in terms of RPM. I'm sure right around 2400 at this airspeed here of about 110. Not a lot of places I can stop between here and there, so we're just gonna keep on going till we get on in. Feel a strong wind from the southwest. I'm really crabbing here to keep on a direct line to the airport. Laconia Airport's just on the other side of those mountain ridge there. That's the Belknap Mountains that we see in front of us. The two top peaks are a ski area called Gunstock, and on the other side of that mountain range is KLCI, or Laconia. We're 20 miles out. Laconia traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo, 10 miles southeast of the airport, and bound for runway 88, Laconia. Laconia traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo, 5 miles southwest of the airport and bound for runway 8, Laconia. Laconia traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo is going to be making a straight-in approach for runway 8, Laconia. Laconia traffic, Super Cub 816 Whiskey Romeo on final for runway 8, Laconia.
As I neared Hampton Airfield, really was getting bounced around in the airplane, noticing a lot of turbulence, strong winds, even at between 2,000 and 3,000 feet. And I decided at that point probably wasn't a good day to go and land at Hampton Airfield. It's a small airfield, about 2,000 feet long, very narrow, and I hadn't landed there in several years and have never landed there in a tail dragger. So I figured I'm just going to do a flyover and then head back northwest to Laconia Airport. So I flew over the airfield, started heading back northwest, probably only 2 to 3 miles northwest of Hampton Airfield, when I looked down at my tack and I noticed the needle was just sitting there at 0. The engine was running, no problems with the engine. The temp gauge, the oil pressure gauge were all in the green. So it all looked good, but for whatever reason the tachometer wasn't working. So I figured, all right, I'm going to continue on, fly back to Laconia, which I did, and land the plane and ground it. So I figured out what's going on. I stopped by my mechanic after I put the plane in the hangar, talked to him for a few minutes, and basically it's probably either a broken cable or the gearing inside the tachometer is broken. I'm not sure if it was related to the turbulence or was it just a pure coincidence. I'm not big on coincidences. I really was rocked a few times in that plane as I neared that Hampton Airfield, and it was again shortly after that I noticed that the tach was basically dead. So I'm kind of hoping that it's just a broken cable, so we can get this plane back in the air quick. But that's basically what happened. So went down to solve one problem with the Garmin G5, got that resolved. Before the flight was over for the day, I had a new problem. That's the fun of owning an airplane. There's always something going on. Anyways, hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on this video.